Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. Tonight I wanted to talk about FAFO in stunning detail. So there's an ammunition company out of Michigan called Fenix Ammunition. And they're pretty based and they're pretty rooted in the realities of the world is the best way I could put it. Over the weekend, specifically Sunday, I believe, or no, not even over the weekend, it was yesterday. Their social media manager was targeted personally. Now, rather than cower and hide and wait for, what the left usually does is they threaten and you respond, right? He responded in a very, very interesting fashion. He said, he posted the tweet up of what the threat was. He then posted one picture of some ammunition. Then I believe he posted up this, and this is what I think is FAFO on steroids. He says, I live on a 3-acre property or 37-acre property, something like that. And from my second level of my home, it is exactly 102 yards to my mailbox. And he posted that with a picture of what looks like the inside of a scope reticle looking at his mailbox. Now, why is that FAFO? Well, for someone to threaten someone in this fashion, because he was basically threatening, or he or she, can't ever tell because it's Twitter and stuff like that, they threatened them in a way that said, we know where you live. That's what they're trying to get to. Well, not only did he share that address with the tweet, he invited them to come into the area. He got more threats for this, and the whole saga around Fenix Ammunition getting threats right now has to do with the doctor that Joe Rogan tried to get on his podcast and do the debate for like $100,000 or $100,000 so that they could give it to a charity. And this doctor refuses. He wanted this doctor to come on with RFK Jr. and to have a debate and talk about the vaccine specifically and its good and bad and everything else. Well, Phoenix has come out and said, it's pretty chicken of the doctor who's supposed to know everything to come out and not want to debate Joe Rogan and RFK. So this caused the left to melt down, and they went after Fenix Ammunition really hard. Fenix Ammunition also has done some really, really wicked cool stuff during COVID. They're one of the people in Michigan that basically told the governor to roll it in a cone. They were going to stay open and do what they needed to do to sorry about that. Do what they needed to do to stay open and keep their people employed. And to this, the law enforcement and the powers that be of the governor tried really, really hard to upset the balance of things and shut them down. They stayed open all the time. The next thing they did that was kind of cool is they took them to court so that they could stay open. So these guys are in the fight. They're one of the big backers of SPC, FPC, not SPC. I don't know where the hell that came from. FPC and SOE. Man, why am I getting this alphabet soup all mixed up? SEF, Second Amendment Foundation, and GOA, Gun Owners of America. So it's hilarious to see the left go after these guys, and they're in our community. How would our community respond to a threat, a physical threat? That they're saying, I know where you're at any given time. I can come after you at any given time. And instead of bowing down, you pony up and say, here I am, waiting for you. That is FAFO at its highest. If you don't know what that means, I'm trying to keep it more family friendly. It's freak around and find out. So think about what that leftist was trying to do there, And his response was like, well, I know my ranges for everything around my area. I live on a property large enough to where I can see you coming, and I'm ready. He showed on the AR-15 he posted later on where he invited him for steaks. It has night vision, and he says he has night vision and night goggles and the laser designator, the PVS-14, I think it is, to go with everything. So we need more of this. We need more people to stand up and say, enough's enough. You want to mess around, you want to try to find me, here I am. We are the exact wrong community to mess with. And I say that because this could have lethal consequences. I'm not calling for this dude to, do anything violent, and I hope that never happens. Nevertheless, we are not guaranteed in life that people are going to be kind to us. So you have to meet force with force. That's the only way we win, or the only way people live. I don't understand in big cities, and I say this often, how you're expected to live knowing that you didn't stand up for what was right. Case in point, in New York, there's been several people that have been pushed in front of trains. There's been nut jobs in subways. And fewer people are standing up. Now, I understand the cities kind of voted for this and they kind of get what they deserve. But if you have, kids and you've separated from your wife, how do you leave the city without causing more financial or family problems than what it's worth? So I understand why people may have to stay in the cities, which means that, the prime directives of what it takes to be an American man are still in play. We are supposed to be the sheepdogs. We're supposed to be the protectors. Whether society tells us that or not is irrelevant. We do it. If someone's getting beat up in front of us, unless we know the reason why, we're probably going to stop the fight, or try to. Some of us will. Some people will just let it slide, and they're just too afraid to get involved nowadays. And that's the problem with society, is we have to get involved, otherwise we get run over. During the COVID stuff, the protests, how much more powerful and how much more impactful would those have been if there had been twice or three times as many people out and saying, hey, this is bunk? But what happened was, the very few people that did it were determined to make a statement. That statement is now where we're at. These guys continue, and I say these guys. Who are these guys? The leftists that want to disrupt modern society, Western society. When these people come after you, digitally or any other way, they need to be dealt with. And, you keep getting bullied. Eventually, you have to punch them in the nose before the bully recognizes that this is not an acceptable behavior. That's the same thing we have to do, not just in real life, but in the digital world too. We're past the time where we can sit here and hold hands and try to find reasonable ground, or try to play the same games with them, or try to debate them. Debating them is getting us nowhere. They need to understand that there are real life repercussions for what they're asking for. And one of them is, you're not behind a keyboard anymore when you're in real life, head to head. And if you've let your butt write checks that your mouth write checks that your butt can't cash, it's naturally going to get you dealt with. That's no different than at any other point in life. Human life, that is. In history, that's always been the case. If you spoke out of turn and you met those persons in real life, they dealt with you. It's the same thing that needs to happen nowadays. And it's kind of refreshing to see Fenix, their social media managers stand up and say, no, I'm not doing that. This story got so much press that it actually ended up on Timcast on their news section where you can read about the story. At first, it was just they were dealing with people in the threat, the first threat. Then multiple threats started coming in, and then the stuff started coming out about FAFO. I firmly believe that, that if you were in one of these big cities that you're allowed to carry in, like in New Mexico, you could carry in Albuquerque, and something were to happen, and you were to have to use that weapon, that sends a very clear message to the bad dudes that you're not going to keep getting away with the actions you're taking without normal people saying no. Peaceful non-compliance as much as we can. FAFO the rest of the time. Like, share, subscribe, be great.
I can't let it slide. My politics are rather controversial. Who would have thought that I ain't catching all slack and I have enemies on my